Hello, I'm Dr. Nidhi Gupta, pediatric endocrinologist and digital wellness coach in Nashville, Tennessee. This is Inspinar. It's a beautiful, warm, rainy morning here in Nashville. The gentleness of the raindrops reminds me of the fond memories of my childhood. Growing up in India, the rain brought such a respite from the tropical heat. The vegetation would be bright and green again. The aroma of delicious snacks that my mother was cooking in our kitchen would tickle my nose, and I would find myself awash with the gentleness of nature. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Helen Prosper, the CEO and founder of A Touch of Gentleness. Helen, welcome to Inspinar.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. And thank you also, Nidhi, for all the work you are doing for
Thank you,
everybody.
Helen. Thank you. I so appreciate that. So, Helen, through A Touch of Gentleness, you are bringing peace and connection back to the world. Tell us what led you to conceptualize A Touch of Gentleness.
Uh, it was really a conglomeration of all my work. So 30 plus years of work. And I've worked consciously with touch and with listening skills and with gentleness in all sorts of areas of my careers. And I've always also offered voluntarily hand massages to people and always been blown away by the difference that something so simple can make. And then I was sitting in the garden in our good old COVID years, and I was just thinking, gosh, what does the world need? And I thought, my goodness, it just needs more gentleness and more touch. I was like, gentleness and touch. Wow, that's it. And I thought, well, there's not enough of me to make a real difference, but maybe if I got some other people together and we started to work together collectively, then we could really make a difference.
A touch of gentleness. That is exactly what the word needed during the years of COVID.
Yeah.
A touch of gentleness is based on the three pillars of gentleness, touch, and listening without judgment. Helen, what makes these three so important? And maybe we could begin with elaborating on gentleness first.
I'm glad you chose that one first. Gentleness, I feel that gentleness is a human superpower. It's certainly been mine. It has so much wisdom. So it has, if you think, I mean, even just what you said now, if you think about that place in nature with the raindrops and all that you created, it was like receiving this beautiful, soothing medicine. So gentleness, first of all, is like medicine. It soothes and bathes our nervous system. So it has that quality, but then it has other qualities. The more I've worked with it, the more I've discovered, and it's gentleness has integrity. It's not fliff-flaff. It's not soft. It can be soft, but that's not what gentleness is. Gentleness is something that is just so. So if you imagine moving a sleeping baby and not wanting to wake it, you'll go in so gently, but you won't go in like that, oh, flip-flappy. You will go in just so and do it just right and move it. Or imagine a big sculpture, doing a huge, big, amazing sculpture, and then trying to put it on a very gentle, narrow plinth, and how he'll move it. So much strength, but so much gentleness. So it's got that integrity. It's always just so. And as you do those things, you have an intention of care. So when you work gently with something, there's always an intention of care. And then it requires full presence, which is quite amazing. I'd tried to work with kind of being more mindful for years, but it wasn't until I thought about gentleness that I was able to bring in. So how gently can I just touch my hand or pick up a pen? So it's got those amazing qualities. And then it's got even more. It's got like this wisdom. I was, as with everybody, got a few curveballs in my life. And there were times when I just didn't know what to do. Emotions were everywhere. It was like being in the storm. I didn't know what to do. And I kept telling myself, just go slowly, go slowly. And I didn't want to go slowly. It felt too passive. And then the words go gently came. I was like, wow, yes, I can do that. And it just created this path, this wise path for me. And it kind of dissolves resistance and it helps you find its way through. And then lastly, I'd say about gentleness that it's completely fearless. If you think, if you have bad news and you have to break it to somebody, you think of the most gentle way. You don't not do it, but you think of the most gentle way. And it gives you that courage to go forward. Or a tightrope walker learning to tightrope, they'll go gently. So it's got all these qualities wrapped in it. And then it's got another layer that it's an energy. And connection, according to Brené Brown, who I adore, connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, valued, etc. And for me, the best energy that you can possibly use to create connection is gentleness, because it's expansive, it responds, it receives, and yeah, it allows that interaction. If you think of the houses of, well, in England, the House of Parliament, but politicians, they're just powering off each other. They're getting louder and louder. There's no connection. Nothing's happening. We've been talking about world peace since the dot. Nothing. And then I look at waves and they do the same. They power up and power up and power up. And then I imagine this like gentle ripple going right into this big, powerful wave, and it just going in there, and that big wave just coming down and just meeting that other wave. And then you get that still point where they connect and meet. And it's in that space, that's in that gentle, allowing space that we're going to truly meet each other and be able to co-create this better world we long for.
Gentleness is medicine. Gentleness is courage. Gentleness is our hidden superpower.
Yes.
And the real life examples of gentleness, Helen, that you just described, it transported me into a different world. And as you were talking, I could sense the different flavors of gentleness. Gentleness can't be too much, too little. It has to be just right.
Absolutely.
How beautiful.
It is.
And I'm sure touch has similar flavors too. Tell us more about touch. Why is touch important? And there can be different types of touch, some pleasant, some not so pleasant, some gentle, some not so gentle.
Absolutely. And touch is an amazing thing. It's a human need. It's the one sense we'd actually die without when we're little. If we don't receive it, enough of it, we fail to thrive. And it's got so many healing qualities. It both has many physical benefits. If you think about stress, and stress is probably one of the number one causes of diseases these days. They say 80 to 90% is chronic stress. Well, soothing touch is the antidote to that. It brings us back, because safety is found in connection. Humans are pack animals and we long for this connection, and touch is a way that we really truly know. It's uncomplicated. It's a way of connecting. If you think language, that can be so complicated. A, we speak different languages. B, there's metaphors, similes, sarcasm. It's amazing we ever understand each other. But touch just cuts through. And we've got these amazing, that they've discovered, nerves called CT afferents, and they specifically go to a part of the brain that responds to the touch of another, and it lets us know that we are in relationship, that we have a connection in the world, and also it helps us connect back to ourselves. So emotionally, that's huge. So much stress is loneliness as well, and we are physically wired to fear being abandoned, but just having that connection and that safety is another complete form of medicine. And I can give you a lovely example, if you want, of I was offering touch in a care home, and I'd been going in regularly every 2 weeks, and this lady had dementia, and she was particularly bad that day, and she was just sort of rocking and didn't make any eye contact. But because I've done it before, I just sat opposite her and slowly started to massage her hands. And as I was doing it, she stopped rocking and she just became still. And then her eyes lifted up and met mine. And then it was like a veil lifted off them. And she just whispered, "Am I still alive?" And I said, "Oh, yes, you are so alive." I said, "Your eyes are so sparkling bright." And she said, "Oh, good. I do want to be alive, but sometimes I just wonder." But that touch had brought her back to herself, had reconnected her with me and the environment. And that's what a touch does. It's beyond beautiful. I could tell you so many stories, and it has so many, as you say, different qualities, flavors, and healing capacities. And yeah, may we never underestimate the power of touch. Touching, when done with the heart, is always healing.
The touch felt the touch made the lady feel that she is alive. It brought her back to life. And as you said, touch can transcend boundaries that language cannot.
Absolutely.
Wow.
They've actually done a study that shows, a recent study that showed 8 emotions, 8 out of 10 emotions could be communicated just by touch. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was the other way around. I just think it's so simple, and it's so we know it. We know it. It's in our biology. We know it before we know language. It's our first language.
First language of touch. Beautiful. Helen, what about listening? Listening without judgment.
Yeah. How important is that? I've really realized that in my work as a counselor and a play therapist. And it's always such a privilege. Humans are storytellers. And as storytellers, we need somebody to tell our story to. And I've seen how healing it is for people to be able to tell their stories and just be heard. But actually, to listen is a huge privilege, and you learn so much. If you can listen to somebody without judgment, with curiosity and wonder and gentleness, then you learn what it is to be somebody else. And when you learn what it is and you hear their story, then the judgments dissolve. And when the judgments dissolve, the fear dissolves. And when the fear dissolves, then we can connect again in this space. So being able to listen is so important and impactful and healing and marvelous as well. It makes life rich when you can hear other people's stories. You know, and if we only believe our story, we're as mad as the maddest person we think exists. You know, I always remember being in class and putting up my hand because I thought I was right, and then you find out that you got that completely wrong. And that doesn't change just because we're adults, but suddenly when we become adults, we think our story is the only right story. So listening just opens up this huge, huge world, which is a beautiful world to live in, because there's so much difference and there's so much wisdom when we listen. And you only have to listen to words either. We can listen to our hearts and to our bodies. And when I was offering a hand massage to one gentleman, you know, many of them want to talk, and so you listen verbally, but sometimes they sit in silence. And one gentleman afterwards said, "Thank you so much." He said, "We've just met in that place where there are no words, haven't we? But we heard each other in that place too."
Developing the power to listen with curiosity melts judgment, which then melts fear. And that's when we can truly connect.
Yeah.
Helen, why do you think we might be missing touch, gentleness, and the capacity to listen in our lives these days? What has contributed to us finding ourselves in a place where these inherent needs of human being are not so obvious.
Yeah, I mean, if we take them all, if we start with gentleness, gentleness has been rather given the label of soft and fliff-flaff. So that's been kind of dismissed. We've been taught we've got to be strong and independent, and there's no place for gentleness in that. But what they don't realize is that, as Alain Ross wrote, gentleness is strength, but wrapped in peace. So I think that one's been given the wrong name. Touch has been just demonized. All we ever hear is about the bad touch. We don't even have a language for the good touch, the soothing touch, the caring touch. We just hear about the sexual touch and the unwanted touch, and that's all we're hearing. So then people are scared. They don't even know. I taught baby massage, and one lady said to me, "Thank you so much. I didn't know how I was going to be able to touch my child." It's become so alienated to us, what is so natural, because or we hear the wrong sides of it, that it becomes something to fear instead of the most beautiful natural sense for us to use. So I think that's touch. And then listening, well, we're in information overload, aren't we? So we might not have capacity to even hear anymore. That's half my problem. I know, I'm like, no. And then the other thing is, influencers are our superheroes, aren't they? We want to be influencers, but what about the listeners? They're our real superheroes. They're the ones listening and understanding and making sense and putting this jigsaw together. But again, they're not talked about. It's the influencers and the information that are the heroes at the moment. So at the moment, it feels like profit is our God. And that is all from the mind. So we've got these amazing minds, and they're building this huge technology, as we know, which sadly is actually causing us to disconnect more because we're not having this beautiful, energetic exchange and experience on all those levels that we've talked about. So we're connecting through there. We're trying to make money because profit has become our God. And this is all head stuff. And actually, gentleness, listening, touch, soothing touch, that's all heart stuff. So we need to come back to really realizing that our real wisdom is from the heart. And then if we open that, and I'm hoping that if we create a culture of generosity and gentleness with a touch of gentleness, we will open people's hearts so that we start working in that space, and then the minds become servants to the hearts, and everything will just dissolve, and we'll find our way back again. But I think that's why, and I think maybe it's even meant to be that the human brain has had to evolve and do these marvelous things, and now we know, we can all hear our hearts stirring and know that actually we've got what we need, and now we need to come back and use it wisely.
We need to come back. We need to slow down. We need to be gentle. And listeners are the superheroes. In your work at A Touch of Gentleness, you are training superheroes. You are training volunteers in the method of gentleness. I'm curious, Helen, what does that training entail? How do you train somebody to be good at listening, to be good at touching gently and with compassion?
Well, we do it. It's a day's training day, and we start with the energy of gentleness. So that's very experiential. And we do a guided relaxation into it where people remember a time of gentleness and then imagine being bathed in it and then bring it to their touch. And then we talk about, and then we kind of anchor that so everybody has their own unique sense of that gentleness and that medicine that we bring in, and we practice bringing that in. And then we talk about the theory of touch and the power, so we understand it better. And then they learn a beautiful therapeutic hand massage. And then we do some listening skills. And then yes, we practice with each other and just build on it, really. And there's also a beautiful course that Matilda, who I know you know, has written, that's online, it's called Living Gently No Matter What. And it's a 7-day course that she's written, And it also helps people bring gentleness and all the sensory sides of gentleness practically into their day. So thinking gently, speaking gently, all of it. And it's really beautiful. And then for me, I practice, I've got the word gently written on my steering wheel because I think I'm a really gentle person and I'm driving like this. and I keep saying it says gently, and I go, oh yeah, gently. And then it helps me transcend, transition from the car to what I'm next going to in a more gentle manner. So we talk about ways of practically bringing these skills into our life.
You talked about the volunteers are trained in a gentle way of hand massage. Now, some of our listeners would be listening to this episode on audio only on podcast, but a lot of us watch on video on YouTube. Would you be able to show us, Helen, what does that gentle hand massage look like?
Ooh, well, we start, if we can get to the forearms, I'm not sure what you can see. Can you see?
I can
So
see your forearm.
So we start with the forearms and we come down in some lines because it's very grounding and it's very soothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so we do little presses. So we've got 3 lines and we do a little press in and out, or give it a hug. And so you just start to feel your body really, and it just grounds it. And then we work into the palms, and then we warm it. And then we play a bit in it, really. But it feels amazing when you do it to somebody else. And then from there, we've got 3,000 touch receptors in each finger. So we spiral up the finger and we glide down and we spiral up and we glide down and we curl, we hug, we pull. And it just feels so amazing, especially when somebody else does it. And then we kind of repeat and go back up the other side. And it's it's about, it's the vehicle is the hand massage, but it's the energy that we ground ourselves in first as well. That's all going on underneath the tool. So that's a little rough.
Yes, this 30 seconds of hand massage is so relaxing. I think I'm ready for the rest of my day today. So, Helen, how can we include gentleness, kind touch, and listening without judgment in our daily lives? What can we do to make it better?
I would say start with gentleness. Gentleness, energy. We always start with energy. Energy becomes matter anyway. So start with gentleness. Gentleness will bring you back to your heart and to the wisdom. And when you live with gentleness, you will find that you automatically know when to offer that soothing touch. It will just open that ability to connect. Gentleness is an energy that says, I'm here. I will connect. And other people can feel that. And so if they want to connect, they'll come. And then if you're living gently, you listen. You're interested, you listen, you care, you want to understand. It's that integrity, it's that intention of care. So the others come from the practices of living gently with gentleness, I'd say.
If you are gentle, you are telling other people, I'm here, I will connect. And then the listening follows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful, Helen. If anybody wants to join A Touch of Gentleness as a volunteer to learn more, where can they find you?
So we mainly on the website. So the website is www.atouchofgentleness.org. And and if you go there as well, you'll see some of the testimonials from the volunteers and the people that have the recipients, and there's some beautiful stories there too.
Wow. Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you for sharing A Touch of Gentleness with us. It was a fascinating, calming, relaxing episode. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today on Inspinar.
Thank you. And can I please shout out to our extraordinary volunteers? They're not, they're not special in any way. They're from all walks of life, but they are extraordinary in their kindness and what they're doing. We've been going 2 years and we've now offered 3,000 hand massages, which that means that on average, over 4 people a day have received their caring touch. And from the feedback, some of the feedback, one person wrote in a little book, "You're saving lives without even knowing it." And we've also got nurses offering it in intensive care units. And the surgeon said that patients are getting sicker, but because of their care and this special touch, their patients are finding the will to pull through. So none of this would be happening without the incredible, incredible kind volunteers that we have. So thank you, all volunteers.
Thank you to the volunteers of A Touch of Gentleness for spreading gentleness, kind touch, and for listening without judgment, for saving lives without even realizing that they are saving lives. Thank you, each one of you. Thank you, Helen. Thanks again for being on Inspinar. Let's reconnect with the real world. Let's reconnect with what truly matters. Let's reconnect with health, joy, and efficiency. Let's reclaim our time and attention. Let's ungrip devices and grip life. I will see you next time.